And then we got rammed up against this wall. And I thought, oh, God, we just had to sit there for the rest of the race, where they'd come round the corner and they must have thought, oh, it's those two, we'll just hit them and then we'll carry on. And I got this car right up the back of mine. And this last one hit the car so hard that it put out 3 sort of vertebrae in my back. And it took my head off and my arms off and everything. And that was horrid.
There is only one answer to that, and that was when I was entered in the Reliant Robin World Championships at Milden Hall in Suffolk, this 20-lap race in these amazingly tatty three-wheelers. The producer told people to keep away from me, otherwise there wouldn't be a TV programme. And of course, on the very last lap, they all went for me. I got banged and bumped, and the car actually turned over twice. Subsequently, I met Prince Andrew, and he said, I know you. He says, Reliant Robins, absolutely marvellous.
And I think that's what made Top Gear, the fact that it went from a reporter standing next to something that was happening and reporting on it to people actually involved in the thick of the action. And we went to the Goose Fair at Lincoln to do a piece about the Wall of Death. Now, before I went, we'd established that I wouldn't be able to have a go, because the thing about the Wall of Death is that they generate an incredible amount of G as they're going round, and you have to acclimatise to that, and it takes months. And right at the end of the day, the chap said, we've thought of a way for you to have a go. So I had to sit on this bike with my legs dangling down by the side of the forks and either side of the headlight, and round we went. The funny thing is, the guy has got the impression that I actually enjoyed it, but I think it's one of those things that you do once in your life.
One of the items that I really remember and really enjoyed was a special one that we did celebrating Roger Clark and my 25th anniversary of our win on the RAC Rally. I actually found my old winning overalls here, but regretfully they won't fit. But Roger Clark and I still fit in here perfectly. Come on, Roger, let's go. And I thought we were just going to go slowly around the forest, and I think the guy that owned the car thought that as well, but we gave it a real good airing, and it was really enjoyable.
Oh, I see you haven't lost any of your sideways style.
Well, the Escort just happens to do that when I get hold of it.
And Roger Clark, who was our greatest British driver, he's very sadly died just 3 months after that programme went out, so it was a very fitting obituary, if you like. It was a wonderful programme, and I shall keep a tape of that for the rest of my life.
I won my first ever rally with Tony Mason alongside me, so I've had some competition out of Top Gear, but I suppose the one thing that really happened was I drove Alain Prost's Grand Prix winning Ferrari Formula One car when Jeremy was in the F50, and I suppose for special occasions you can't beat that.
The F1 car wins, of course, but you'd be amazed at how close the F50 gets. Right up to 160 miles an hour. There really isn't that much in it.
The sun would come out and you'd be in a Ferrari, and it wasn't yours. And you didn't have to pay for the tyres, and that was just, you know, the best feeling in the world.
I think unnamed Top Gear presenters have always gone mad about Ferrari and eulogised about how wonderful they are. I fundamentally disagree. I think they fart and bang and they break down. They're ridiculously expensive. They're badly built. You need a mechanic in the boot. They're far too wide. You get done for speeding. You drive 200 yards down the road, and I cannot see the point of them at all.
People always remember the McLaren F1 supercar, and still remember the look on my face when I hit the throttle for the first time. And also the lovely shot of sort of wheels spinning out of the chicane, and you know, I did 2 laps of the Goodwood racetrack, and everybody still remembers the McLaren F1 accident.
You have the failed racing driver who, desperate to prove that he isn't a failed racing driver at all, would sometimes just put us into a car and then try to kill us. A number of directions there, Tiff, all in one go.
Well, I had to get away, didn't I? So, fool them.
He made that thing dance. And even if I practiced for 1,000 years, I couldn't drive like Tiff does. And it's funny, because you can go and talk to other racing drivers, Damon Hill and people, and they will actually say, no, we can't drive like Tiff does either. I know of no one else that can do it, that can make a car slide for as long as he does, at as high a speed as he does.
He is prodigiously talented in these balletic routines with motor cars. He is the only person in the entire civilized world that I know that can do an 18-second power slide and then stop, bang, absolutely exactly in front of the camera, with all the badges on the wheels pointing the right way up.
Okay, it's breathtaking to watch and unwittingly frightening when you're actually inside of it.
I need a lavatory. I need a lavatory now.
It wasn't just Tiff's passengers who suffered from involuntary bladder control. For the motor industry, the debut of one of their new cars could be just as nerve-wracking.
Classic for me was when I road tested a Fiat Strada. Very exciting car. I just remained staggered that anybody in the late 70s, early 80s can come up with a design like this, because I think it is positively ugly. And it was just the biggest heap of that you've ever seen. Altogether, I'm not 100% knocked out with this, as you've probably been able to tell. Personally, I don't like the paint finish on this individual car. There's some wires hanging out from around the dashboard, so I wasn't very impressed with the way in which it was delivered, and I really went for it. So much so that the following motor show, I walked onto the Fiat stand and was physically removed. I mean, I was just, you're not allowed here. You're the one who knocked the Fiat Strada. And anyway, I'm around longer than the Fiat Strada.
We soon knew, Jeremy and I, that the way to the viewers' hearts was to take no prisoners, was to shoot from the hip. And at that stage, there were an awful lot of very lackluster, very mediocre cars. And this is our point, that the old Metro has all the finesse and the subtlety of a thumb in the eye. The following week, I think we got 300 letters from outraged blue rinsers who had happily lived their lives with their little Metros chugging down to the hairdresser.
And don't expect any rushes of adrenaline from behind the wheel. This driving position comes straight out of a double-decker, and for a bloke like me, the dinky little seats would keep an osteopath in work for months.
And after that, we just went for everything, hammer and tongs.
Every single bump causes my head to thump into the roof. Why does the roof have to be so low? Why do you need a sunroof in a car that's got air conditioning? Answer me that. Preferably before my skull cracks open. Ow! Oh! Ow! Ow! Ah! Oh, that's better.
In the fiercely competitive and crowded world of 4x4s, is the Frontera any good? No, not really. Well, they're actually pretty hopeless, and I wouldn't buy one. Why? Because they're dull to drive, hideously slow, not that well made, and a teeny bit common.
So I'm afraid as far as the 968 is concerned, it's thank you, but no thank you. At £30,000, it would be just fine, but at 40,000, it's starting to play games with the big boys. The crossest I've ever been with myself was, I borrowed this little Peugeot 306 when it first came out. Well, I don't think this is Peugeot's best effort. It's not ugly, it's just a bit boring. And I want to know this, who chose the colour? Stevie Wonder? Engine? Oh, brilliant, it's got one. And as I was driving home, I was thinking, actually, it's quite a nice little car, this. I was so angry, it was too late to do anything. But it's always stuck in my head. I always feel like I want to go to France and publicly apologise for it. Oh, my track record at getting things wrong as far as the market's concerned was unbelievable. Toyota Corolla, world's best-selling car. Did it with the Ford Escort 92, terrible, it's a dog. That was Britain's best-selling car. And then there was stuff like the Renault A610. I said, you've all got to have one. It's just fantastic. It's wonderful. And they sold 6. So I did misjudge it. Well, weakly. I was wrong and hopeless. But the Peugeot was the one that I got technically wrong. And that was sort of the one that hurts most of all. Being out of step with people is not something that worries me unduly. Just being wrong about a car is amateurish.
But not all our boo-boos made it onto the screen.
We were doing a shoot once in South Wales with these guys that I'd met, and they said, you must come down and see us. We all own Honda Fireblades, the ultimate sports bike of the day. Lovely guys, most of them in the 40s, some of them in the 50s. What a bunch of hooligans. They were terrible. They were like a gang of sort of overexcited lads. And at one point, this car pulls up and this elderly chap gets out, and he's not happy about this pack of bikes that's been riding around all day. So he has a bit of a rant and a rave, and we're all very apologetic. And at the end, he says that he's a personal friend, a very close and personal friend, of the chairman of the BBC. So we said, of course you are. And he got back in his elderly Ford Fiesta and toddled off into the distance. Anyway, about 2 weeks later, the producer said to me, I've had a letter from the chairman. And it turned out he was a close personal friend of the chairman of the BBC.
And it was disappointing sometimes when I once said, my Jag would give Douglas Bader cramp. And the producer said, you are joking. And it gets taken out. You're quite cross because you think that was an hour of pace.